Hello students, welcome back to the economics class of plus 1 standard. As today we will start with lesson number 10, rural development. In this chapter students you will learn about the concept of rural development, key issues in rural development, rural credit in India and need for credit by farmers, sources of rural credit in India, critical appraisal of rural banking and agriculture marketing, meaning defects of agriculture marketing in India, government measures for improving agriculture marketing, and next topic you will discuss in this, that is diversification of agriculture in India, its meaning, significance and agriculture diversification in India. Organic farming, under this you will learn about the meaning of organic farming, benefits of organic farming. So let's start with the today's topic, that is rural development. You know that today our topic is rural development means development of villages. We must be aware that of the 1.21 billion Indians, that is 833 million, that is 68.84% people live in rural areas, while 377 million stay in urban areas. Like in Uttar Pradesh has the largest rural population of 155.11 million, and that is the 18.62% of the country's rural population in Uttar Pradesh, that is in rural areas. Whereas Maharashtra has the highest urban population of 50.83 million, that is 13.48% of country's urban population done in the Maharashtra. Punjab state has 22 districts and its population rank is 16th place in India. Punjab's population in 2020 is estimated to be 30 million, that is 3 crore. And according to unique identification, Aadhaar India updated 31st May 2020, by mid of the year, that is 2020, the projected population is, that is 3141 and 373 it's there. In the top 5 districts of Punjab having the highest rural population, that is Gurdaspur is there, Amritsar is there, Firozpur is there, Ludhiana and Sangrur is there. And the bottom 5 districts of Punjab having the lowest rural population, that is Faridkot, Barnala, Fatehgarh Sahib and Sahibjata Ajit Singh Nagar, that is SCS Nagar, and Shaheed Bhagat Singh Nagar. And the total rural population in Amritsar district is, that is 11,56,045, and below is the list of the rural areas with the rural population, that is name of the villages are there in Amritsar, that is Bagdiya, Bal, Balkala, Balkhur, Mahal, Jagdev Kala and Gumtala and Fatehgarh Chudiya. And we all need basic facilities like good food, clothing and housing and health facilities, education, but these rural areas are lagging behind due to the lack of all these facilities like food, clothes, shelters, street lights, rough roads, education, hospital, irrigation, employment, information technology. No doubt all these things are available in the rural areas, but all these not up to the mark. Like education, it is not up to the mark, health facilities are not up to the mark. So all these areas are lagging behind in case of the quality. The majority of population in India, about that is 72%, it is living in rural areas, and the living conditions of the people in rural areas are highly miserable. And of the total number of poor, that is 269.3, and out of which 216.5 million are living in the rural sector, and in other words 1/3 of the rural India still lives in miserable life. Like they are not having proper food and proper clothing. Their standard of living, it is not up to the mark. Rural poor are ranked largely by the people of low caste and tribal groups also. More than 3/4 of the workforce in rural India is employed in agriculture, where the level of productivity is too low to provide the required quantity of foodstuff for them. And the average yield per hectare in India is quite below the world average in all crops. Wheat is 2750 kg per hectare as against a world average yield of 3289 kg per hectare. Wheat yield is even much less than the prevailing yield rates in less advanced countries of the world. That is Niger, it is there, South Sudan, Mozambique, it's there. And thus, under such a situation, development of rural areas must receive special attention of the government of India. In fact, real progress of India lies in its rural development. In the rural development, that is, the government has to focus on the development of roads, irrigation facilities, and the HYV seeds. All these facilities and plowing fields and the adoption of the new technology in the agriculture sector, all these things are required in the rural areas for the upgradation of the rural areas. Now we will discuss the concept of rural development. Rural development refers to the overall development of the village economy, like setting up of food processing, dairy, poultry and fisheries, units of garments, footwear can be set up in barren lands near to the villages as a market, and it can be defined as a process whereby the standard of living of rural people, especially of the rural poor, rises continuously. And when we will set up the showrooms near to the villages on the barren lands, and people go there for shopping also, but only the people can go there when they are having a employment and they are earning something, so that they can buy all these things, and all these things avail to them at a cheaper rates also. So under the process of rural development, our focus is on the development of areas which are lagging behind, like border areas are there, and district of Bathinda, it's there, Faridkot is there, Firozpur, Gurdaspur, Sangrur, all these things, all these districts are there, on which the focus of the government it is there. And rural development is defined as the improving the living standard of low income people living in the rural areas by giving them free education, health facilities and employment schemes like 100 days Rozgar Yojana, Jawahar Rozgar Yojana. All these things should be there so that they can at least earn their livelihoods, and they can backed by the ability to purchase the commodities, that is from the nearby showrooms, from where they can purchase the clothes and other accessories of life at a cheaper rates, and making the process of their development self-sustaining. The concept of rural development is much broader than the concept of agriculture development. Agriculture development is concerned with the cultivation and allied activities like you can say animal husbandry, it's there, and under this sheep farming is there, dog breeding and farming, horse breeding and dairy farming. All these comes under the animal husbandry, and animal forestry, fishery, all these things are the allied activities in the agriculture sector. While rural development includes all areas and activities in rural areas including agriculture, our focus in the rural areas not only on the agriculture, our focus is on the upliftment of the people also, their standard of living, The development of agriculture sector needs special attention, as agriculture is the main source of living of the rural people. There have been structural changes in the Indian economy, means shifting of labor. Structural changes means shifting of labor from the one sector to another sector. Suppose previously if you are working as a farmer in the fields, and now you are working as a worker in the industrial sector, that is a structural changes. When there is a change in the nature of job, and to the industrial sector, since independence it is there, the contribution of the industry in the GDP, that is by the industrial sector 24%, and by the service sector this time it is the maximum, that is 59% contribution in the GDP. And while agriculture sector is only contributing 17%, and still it is decreasing day by day and has tended to be declined. Then so, but still we cannot be called a developed nation, because millions and millions of people continue to be unemployed and not getting safe drinking water too. Rural areas are breeding centers of poverty. There is a hunger and starvation is there. There is an inadequate expansion of economic infrastructure. Economic infrastructure, we mean that irrigation facilities, power, it is there, means electricity, land development, it is there, HYV seeds are there. All these are related to the economic infrastructure. And the social infrastructure like schools, hospitals, community housing, roads, railways, all these things are there, no doubt. You can see the schools in the rural areas, you can see the hospitals, but the quality and the standard, it is not up to the mark. And this is a crucial reason for the low level of living in the rural areas. People are ignorant, they are not well educated, illiteracy it is there. So all these are the reasons for the lagging behind of the rural areas. Rural development means an action plan for the social and economic upliftment of the rural areas. The action plan is to focus on lingering challenges like the challenges of rural credit. As you know that illiteracy it is there in the rural areas, farmers are not well educated, and when they are having any kind of financial crisis, what they are doing, they go to their money lenders and they charge high-fi rate of interest, and they are not noting down everything in their bahi khata. So that's why they are facing problem. And the other main problem in this one, that is lingering challenges, that is rural marketing and emerging challenges of organic farming and sustainable livelihood in rural areas. Rural development implies a multi-dimensional process of progress in rural areas that leads not only to higher per capita income but also qualitative improvement in living standard of the rural people, like cleanliness in the hospitals, cleanliness in the schools, higher agricultural productivity, higher per capita rural income, greater equality in the distribution of rural income and wealth also, and the greater access to basic education and health facilities, expansion of rural and economic infrastructure also. So to make this multi-dimensional process of rural development operative, emphasis is given on some action plans for correcting the weaknesses of some lagging areas like border areas, Bathinda, Faridkot, Hoshiarpur, which fall behind the overall development of the village economy. Inadequate expansion of rural credit and marketing infrastructure are the examples of such lagging areas. Taking new initiatives or challenges to explore the emerging areas of growth. The scope of organic farming. Organic farming means when we are not using any chemicals in the production, like manure only we use, and that ensures sustainable development in agriculture. The livelihood options in village economy based on information technology are supposed to be the emerging areas of rural development. Let us discuss some important key terms related to the topic. First of all, rural development, lagging areas and emerging areas. Rural development means an action plan for the social upliftment. Social upliftment covers like schools, hospitals, community housing, Jawahar Gram Samriddhi Yojana, that is the employment schemes, drought prone areas program, integrated wasteland development program, and economic upliftment of the rural areas like irrigation facilities, energy, transport, communication, banking and finance, insurance, building of roads, banks, schools, dispensaries, all these comes under the economic upliftment of the rural areas. Now we will discuss lagging areas, which fall behind the overall development of the village economy, like rough roads, no education facility, network issues, no health facility, far away from the market. All these, like you can say the border areas, you see in the border areas the market, it is far away, and when you reach to near to the Wagah border, you see the condition of roads, dust it is there, and education facilities, it is also not nearby to the houses. People have to go to the urban areas to get the good education. Emerging areas, the scope of the organic farming that ensures sustainable development in agriculture. The livelihood options in the village economy based on information technology are supposed to be the emerging areas of the rural development. Rural credit and marketing infrastructure. Under the to cover all the problems of the rural credit, cooperative societies, regional rural banks, commercial banks, Grameen banks, which give financial help to the farmers by giving loans to them at cheaper rates. Human resources like labor force, skilled labor, it's there. Natural resources like availability of bamboos, sugarcane, jute, water, all these are the natural resources, soil even also. Now lingering challenges like rural credit and rural marketing, that is faced by the poor and innocent farmers. Emerging challenges of organic farming and sustainable livelihood. Key areas of the rural development. The main aim of the rural development program is the best utilization of the resources available in rural areas like soil, water, jute, sugarcane, etc. And these resources include both natural resources and human resources. Under the natural resources there is a land, water, soil, jute, and under the human resources there is a employment, training, development and placement, recruitment, compensation and benefits are there. The natural resources are land resources that are utilized properly to raise the productivity, like use of HYV seeds, intensive cultivation is there, and the human resources can be made more productive through better education, training and health facilities. Now we will discuss the key issues in the rural development. These includes development of human resources including both education and health, development of rural infrastructure like electricity, irrigation, credit system, agricultural marketing, development of roads, land reforms, development of local productive resources, shifting, cultivation and special measures of poverty alleviation programs. Now we will discuss in this chapter rural credit, agriculture credit, role of cooperatives, diversification of Indian agriculture, alternative farming or organic farming. Rural credit. Under this we will discuss the problems of the rural indebtedness, and in which we will discuss the sources of agriculture finance, steps taken by the government, and credit needs of the Indian farmers, evolution of the rural credit system. First of all, we will discuss some key terms like short-term credit. Short-term credit means when the farmers having the requirements of the financial needs, the credit. Short-term credit it is of for 15 months, or you can say that less than 15 months, and such loans are repaid after harvesting only. So the short term credit for the purchasing of seeds, fertilizers for a period of less than 15 months, such loans are repaid after harvesting. So the short term credit means to meet the short term credit needs. Next one is medium term credit. This kind of credit it is for the purchase of bullocks, plows, pump set, and it is for a period of more than 15 months and up to 5 years. So these type of loans are known as the medium term credit, having a time limit from 15 months to 5 years. Long term credit. This type of credit it is required for the more than 5 years to make the permanent improvements in land productivity through the purchase of tractors or any other costly machinery. Takavi loans. Takavi loans are the grants at the time of the natural disasters or the famines. Rural credit. Credit or finance is an essential requirement of for any person for the any productive activity, whether it's agriculture, industrial or the commercial, or even for a simple household. But the nature of the credit requirement in rural areas differ from the urban areas. The major source of agriculture credit in India has been the private money lenders. This source of credit was inadequate and highly exclusive in nature. So, since independence, a multi-agency approach consisting of cooperatives, commercial banks, regional rural banks has been adopted to provide cheap credit facilities to the farmers. Our principal reasons for the rural indebtedness in the rural farmers, first of all, poverty. Indian farmers cannot meet their credit needs from their own sources or savings. No doubt they are having agriculture, farming and allied activities also, but in spite of that they are failure to meet all these type of credits. Hence they have to rely upon the outsider finance. Rural people need loans for different purposes like purchase of seeds, fertilizer, insecticides, land, animal and payment of wages, etc. All these things are not in the hands of the farmers, or they are failure to fulfill all these requirements. So that's why there's a need for them to rely on the private money lenders or the rural money lenders. Next one is the principal reason other for rural indebtedness, that is the social obligations. When the farmers they spend more money when their marriages are there, when marriage ceremonies are there, or any kind of religious festival it is there, like any kind of Gurpurb it is there, and fairs are there, and they spend more and more money. That is also principal reason. Next one is inherited debt. Burden of debt that is shifted from one generation to the another generation. Next is unserious practices of rural money lenders, that is rural money lenders charge high interest on the loans taken by the farmers and force the borrowers to take loans by mortgaging their land also. Credit needs of Indian farmers. First one is there are two types of needs of credit by the Indian farmers. First one is the productive credit and second one is the unproductive credit. Under the productive credits, when farmers require loan for the purchase of seeds, fertilizers, and agricultural implements or the purchase of land, then it's a productive credit, and the farmers use this credit amount for improving the productivity of their cultivable land. And under the unproductive credit, when farmers require loan for consumption needs like social obligations, under a social obligation we mean marriages are there, and religious festivals are there, rituals are there, so paying court fees, clearing old debts, and to buy costly cars for show off. So all these are the unproductive credit. When the farmers will take the loans for these type of works, then it is called as the unproductive credit. Traders, a person who deals in the food grains, cloth business, that person is known as a trader. Types of credit according to the time period. There is a short term credit when the farmers take loan to meet the short term credit needs like purchasing of seeds, fertilizers, or the payment of wages for a period of less than 15 months. Such loans are repaid after harvesting. So these loans are known as the short term loans because it is only for 15 months. Medium term credit. This kind of credit requirements by the farmers, that is for the purchase of bullocks, plows, and pump set, improvements on land, and for the purchase of seeds also, for rapid ranging between 15 months to 5 years. So medium term loans are also required for unproductive purposes like marriages are there, purchasing expensive cars, and other religious or the social functions are there. Long term credit. Credit required for more than 5 to 15 years to make a permanent improvements in land productivity through the purchase of tractors or any other costly machinery, purchase of land. Then the loan required, it is heavy loans also, and the time period also fluctuate from 5 years to 15 years. So these kinds of loans are known as long term credit. Now we will discuss the sources of agriculture finance. Under this we will discuss non-institutional sources and institutional agencies are there. Non-institutional sources also known as informal sector. Under this we will discuss rural money lenders, traders, trader means who deal in the food grains, and landlords, relatives, and others. Under the institutional agencies, cooperative societies are there, land development banks are there, commercial banks, regional rural banks are there. First of all, we will discuss the non-institutional sources. The non-institutional sources, as you know, that also known as informal sector, has been historically equated with either money lenders or landlords. These institutional sources accounted for 93% of the total requirements of the rural people in 1951. These different types of sources are as under. First one is rural money lenders. Money lenders. Money lenders are the most important and popular source of rural credit. When the poor farmers, poor and ignorant or illiterate farmers in the rural areas, they need any type of credit, they straightway go to the money lenders. These money lenders include professional as well as non-professional also. Professional money lenders. Professional money lenders refers to those people who act as money lenders, whereas non-professional money lenders perform their money lending activities side by side with their farming or trading activities. They do the farming also, they are working as a farmer, and from their extra income they give it on they give the credit to the person who wants to take loan from them, and enjoy the interest rates also. Next one is they keep close contact with their customers. But these money lenders charge very high rates of interest and cheat the illiterate and innocent farmers. They generally do not make distinction between consumption and production loans. They do not maintain their accounts properly. Their financial resources are quite insufficient. Traders, landlords and relatives. Apart from village money lenders, relatives, landlords, traders and commission agents are the other important non-institutional sources of rural credit in India. Traders and commission agents supply funds to the farmers for productive purposes. They force the farmers to sell their produce to them at low prices and they charge a heavy commission for themselves. This source of finance is particularly important for the growers of cash crops like cotton, tobacco and groundnut. These non-institutional agencies provide as much as that is 93.6% of the credit requirement of the farmers in 1951 till 52. Presently this percentage stand only that is reduced up to 30%. And in spite of the fact that the relative share of the non-institutional sources has been declining, these agencies continue to perform a pivotal role in providing rural credit in India. Cooperative societies or the banks and the commercial banks like Bank of Baroda, Punjab National Bank, State Bank of India, Bank of India have generally been reluctant to lend money for unproductive purposes. For unproductive purposes like for marriage ceremony and religious festivals like Gurpurabs are there. Now farmers do not have to wait for a long period to get credit facilities from non-institutional sources, as it happens in case of bank loans where farmers have to wait for months to get the required amount of loan. Further, loan amount can always be adjusted according to borrower's requirement and convenience. Many poor people have no access to institutional credit. Money lenders, instead of being abolished altogether, should be regularized and improved also even. Institutional finance. Now institutional finance refers to the funds made available to the rural people by various institutions. These institutions like cooperative societies are there, cooperative banks are there, commercial banks, regional rural banks, state government. Since 1951, the major objective of the policy on rural credit has been to provide access to institutional credit for Indian farmers and other weaker sections. Why there is a need for the institutional finance? The need for institutional credit arises because of the drawbacks of the non-institutional finance. Non-institutional credit is defective because the reason is this one: non-institutional credit is always exploitative. Why exploitative? As the money lenders charge higher rate of interest from the farmers, and moreover they are not maintaining their records also, and also force the farmers to sell their produce at a low rates to them, and the money lenders sell the same produce in the market at a high rate of interest. So this is the major drawback of the non-institutional credit. Non-institutional credit is very expensive due to the high rate of interest. When the farmers take the loans from the money lenders, they have to pay the high rate of interest to the money lenders. In this way, this is expensive one. And the non-institutional credit does not flow into most desirable channels also, and non-institutional credit is not available for making improvement on lands. Need for the institutional finance. Institutional credit is not exploitative on the other hand, as the rate of interest are fixed by the government, and these rate of interest are cheaper also, and its basic aim is to help the farmers in raising their production and income also. The rate of interest remains relatively fair and low in the institutional organizations. Institutions give loans to farmers according to their credit needs, both short term as well as long term credit needs. The institutional finance plays a pivotal role in promoting rural development in India. Now we will discuss the advantages of institutional credit. Institutional sources of rural finance protects the rural poor from the clutches of the village moneylenders, as the village moneylenders exploit the innocent farmers badly by charging high rates of interest. Institutional finance develops banking habits among the rural people, as the rural people deposit their savings in the banks and also enjoy the rates of interest. Banking institutions provide credit facilities to rural people on low rates of interest. The banking institutions help the peasants, families to undertake agriculture and allied activities like sheep rearing, it's there, poultry it is there, dairy it is there. The financial support helps them to boost up their average income. Sometimes the poor peasant families from self-help group or cooperative societies avail institutional credit. Now we will discuss the steps taken by the government for the expansion of the rural credit. Various institutional agencies, that is cooperative banks, commercial banks, regional rural banks, National Bank of Agriculture Rural Development, cooperative banks. You know that government plays an active role in the spread of the cooperative credit movement in the country. There are two separate cooperative institutions which provide agricultural finance. Cooperative banks which provide short-term and medium-term loans. Land development banks which provide long-term loans to the farmers for the permanent improvement in their lands. All these cooperative banks provided credit to the tune of rupees, that is 1,11,203 crore in 2012 till 13, which accounts for 18.3% of the total institutional credit to agriculture. Cooperative finance is the cheapest and the best for the Indian farmers. Cooperative banks promote saving, and under this type of banking organization, people voluntarily cooperate with one another to promote their economic interest, like irrigation facilities and the purchase of seeds are there, like this one. The year of 1904 marks the beginning of the cooperative credit movement, when the government passed the Cooperative Credit Societies Act. Another more comprehensive act known as Cooperative Societies Act was passed in 1912. The cooperative credit movement has a three-tier structure in rural areas. First one is primary agricultural credit societies, that is PACs, at village level. Central cooperative banks at district level. State cooperative banks at state level. State cooperative banks give loans to central cooperative banks or directly to the primary agriculture credit societies. Central cooperative banks give short-term and medium-term loans to PACs, that is primary agriculture credit societies. It is the primary agriculture credit societies which directly deals with the rural borrowers. Now we will discuss the defects of the cooperative credit. The financial resources of the cooperative are inadequate in relation to the credit requirements of the rural sector. Cooperative societies, that is banks, have been facing the problem of large overdues. Overdues have reached an alarming level of 45%. A large part of the cooperative credit is concerned by the large farmers. Small and medium farmers are deprived of the funds. A large number of cooperatives have not been able to give timely credit to the rural people. There is uneven growth of cooperative credit in different regions of the country. Students, hope you all have understood the topic of rural development. Now it is time to note down the homework. Our first question is, define the following terms with example: lagging areas, emerging areas, cooperative banking, rural development. Our second question is, discuss the key issues of rural development in India. Question number 3 is, why is there a need for rural credit in India? Question number 4 is, what are the institutional sources of agricultural credit in India? Name them. Question number 5 is, discuss the importance of credit in rural development. And students, please go through the YouTube links also for more clarity, and hope you all will complete your homework in your fair copy for better learning. Thank you for listening, students.